In this recording, we're going to get you some confidence operating on polynomials and build up to factoring, which you're going to be able to work on soon. So we've got to have these building blocks in place, and the first one would be to be able to combine like terms accurately. So obviously you know how to add, but we can't add just any terms, just like you can't add apples and oranges and say they're apples. You have to add just like terms. And so we have some examples here: 4x, 8y, and 3x. You can't combine the 4x and 8y, and I think you know that, but just that's the case, right? So you can add the coefficients. The 4 you can add to the 3 that are the coefficients of the x and call it 7x. The 8y's just got to stay separate. Okay, so let's work on a couple together here. When we're talking about these, of course, I would say 5y and 8y, 13y, and the 4z just has to stay separate. When I write a z, I like to put a line through it so it doesn't look like a 42. Okay, so how about this next set? You've got a couple like terms underlined. We can combine those. And the 9b you can just write separately. So you can make sure our b is written nice and clearly. It doesn't look like a 6 plus a 13 because I'm adding up the 10 and the 3. Again, I would recommend doing exactly what we've done here, is underlining the like terms, then adding their coefficients. So I'm looking at the 8x squared and the 2x squared. Even though this term has an x, it's not a like term because the exponents are different. So the variables have to be the same and the exponents have to be the same in order to be considered like terms. So I'd add the 2 and the 8, call that 10x squared. Remember, I don't do anything with the exponent when I'm adding. It's just saying how many of these things called x squareds we have. We have 10. Okay, let's do two others together. This one over here. Okay, got some like terms. Let's underline them. Those are like. I can therefore add them. I don't do anything with the exponent. It just stays x to the 4th. The 6x cubed off by itself. Okay, finally, let's try this one. I want you to underline this term and this term, which are the like terms. And I'm going to add the -4, -6, and get -10. Then I just keep what the variable is. The variable is x squared y. And then the last term that didn't have any like term to go with it, it's just a -6. Okay? Why don't you work out the remainder of those? Play the recording to check your answers. So pause now. Don't play it till you have answers written down for this part right up here on the top of that squiggly line. Okay, hopefully worked all those out. Get some answers for you. Okay, so check your work. When you're ready, keep playing the recording. Okay, now we're going to talk about the exponent rule for multiplication. When we multiply, we have x times x. That's going to result in two factors of x, which we call it x squared. So when I'm multiplying x squared times an x, now I have three factors of x. This is really like x times another x, right? So 3 factors of x. When I have 2x times 3x, I really multiply the coefficients, 6, and I have to be careful here. I have 2 factors of x, so x squared. Finally, I could probably write this one out. 4 times x times 5 times x times x times x. So I have to count. Okay, we have 4 times 5. I know what that is. That's 20. How many factors do I have of x? Well, looks like there's 5 altogether, right? So it's x to the 5th. So think back. What's your shortcut here? Okay, well, obviously you're going to add the exponents when you're multiplying. And the coefficients, we do what we always do, is multiply. Okay. Squaring polynomials. Definitely want to write this twice. So if you have a factor squared, what I'm going to do is write it like this: 5x cubed times another 5x cubed. Okay, now we can apply what we just learned, kind of like this example. Got 5 times 5 we know is 25. Then I've got 3 factors of x times another 3 factors of x, so altogether 6 factors of x, adding the exponents. If I have what's called a binomial here, 2 terms, x plus 4, and I'm squaring it, we can write it like this, x plus 4 times x plus 4. Write it twice. Let's hold off on that, okay, to be continued or to be determined. We'll get to that later in our lesson, all right? Finally, let's talk about subtracting. Subtracting is not too bad if you know how to combine like terms. You just have to be really careful about the order, okay, and concentrate on your opposite signs. So my suggestion for making this easy is to distribute this negative sign. Let's call it, like, tuck a little -1 right in here, and let's distribute that -1 to all the terms in what's being subtracted, okay? So I've got x squared plus 5, and then I'm distributing that negative, so I end up with a -2x squared minus 3x, and now keep in mind, you're doing a little self-talk here, so you're saying negative times positive, negative times positive, negative times negative, okay, so we know that's a positive. Now we just combine our like terms, what we were doing before. Okay, so I see I want to put a square box around the squares. Okay, and maybe I'll just do a little underline under the x, and maybe I'll do a circle for the constants, something like that. Just got a little strategy. Okay, so x squared and minus 2x squared. Okay, that's going to be negative x squared, or -1x squared, followed by the -3x. We write them in order, followed by the 5 plus 7, which is 12. Okay. So the next kind of question is trickier because we have this subtract from. We have a little phrase here. From goes first. Okay, you got to be really careful here. If I said subtract 4 from your age, of course you would start with your age and take away 4. So subtract blah from this thing. We have to write this thing first. Of course, I have to keep these in parentheses. Minus this. Okay, so let's see, I'm going to distribute my negative sign, and they're all positive in what we're subtracting, so I'll have all negatives there. Okay, now I just need to combine our like terms. Again, let's use some shapes. Notice how when I'm drawing my shape, I'm including the sign, whether it's a positive or a negative. Okay. Now, why don't you write down what the answer is and play the recording when you're ready. -2x squared minus 13x minus 14. Okay. Why don't you try number 2 on your own? Play the recording when you want to see the answer. Okay. Thanks for watching.